Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening, good evening. Hey, Don, number one. All right. Good evening, PG and chat. Good evening to you. God bless. Much love. Hey, Australia, number two, girl. Hi, number two. PG, much love to you. You know it. Seeking truth, number three. All right. Hello, PG, Moz, and chat. Much love. Hello to you. And Robin. Hey, number four, girl. Number four, right there. Says, hey, PG and chat. Hey, girl, how you doing tonight? Good to see you in here. All right, let me see. Hey, Reba, how you doing, sweetie? Oh, that's beautiful, Australia. Absolutely beautiful. Brat, beautiful girl. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You don't know how much. I appreciate my mods. You guys are awesome. All right. Janet, how you doing? Anna, Small Town, Kathy, how you guys doing tonight? Hey, lady, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. Ruby Rainmaker, beautiful, absolutely beautiful girl. Hey, Carla, good to see you in here, hon. All right, Ruby Rainmaker, I appreciate that. God bless. Amen. Oh, that is beautiful, Anna. Janet D. Oh, sending her flowers and love. God bless. Grieva Mama, how you doing tonight, sweetie? Good to see you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Prayers for all. Praying for peace, justice, and for Summer Moon Utah Wells. Praying for Summer's brothers to find brothers. I think she meant to find Summer. Praying for Summer's brothers to find Summer. I believe that's what she meant. Hey, Chris, how you doing, sweetie? Hello, PG Mods and chat. Greetings and blessings to you all. Greetings and blessings to you, girl. God bless. Yeah. Um. Oh, that is so sweet. Tons of prayers, hugs, and love from Oklahoma. Hey, girl. God bless. Much love to you. Much love to you from all over the world. We got people from all over the world in here, and they're sending their love. I know. Hey, LG, how you doing, sweetie? Suzanne, how you doing? There's my Suzanne. Hey, girl. But yeah, um, I'm gonna tell you, I really been putting up with the lot out here, right? PG's been putting up with the lot. Every time I turn around, somebody wants to come sideways at PG, and you know, and that's cool. That's cool. I mean, if that's what they want to do, if that's what they want to do, but I suggest, they know how to put on their big girl undies and, you know, when I decide to, stand my ground, I hope they're able to, I hope they're able to not start, playing the victim because they're not victims at all. I'm gonna tell you, I've really been trying to be nice out here. I really have, and doing my best, y'all. But I'm getting fed up, right? I'm getting a little fed up, and I'm not sure, Crystal, of all the names this woman has been calling me. I had someone hit me up on Facebook, and they're like, I need to talk to you, PG. I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, you know, um, I stay very busy. I stay very busy, but I try to take time for everyone. And so, you know, I decided to talk with them. And they told me that, notified me that this crystal is, you know, spouting out that PG's this person and that person and one person and another. And I'm none of these people. The person that I don't even know the names that she's supposed to say I am. I don't know. But I do know that the lady told me some names. But I just want to make it clear out here. Once again, I want to make it clear out here. I am not any of these people that these people are saying I am. For all these people know, I could be a man using a woman's voice changer, right? I could be a woman using a woman's voice changer. People don't know who I am. They have no idea who I am. And I wish they would quit acting like they do when they don't. And I wish they would stop bothering innocent families that have nothing to do with PG or with YouTube or with any of these missing children's cases. Leave these innocent families alone. Quit acting like you know somebody when you don't. I don't know if the families are real. I don't know if the families are fake that these people are trying to say PG is. I don't know. I don't know if these people really exist or not. I know like a couple of people who truly existed. Martha and that Kathy lady, the other woman that her and her daughter came up on the panel. I know a few of them that supposedly really existed. The one lady that supposedly worked at a zoo, I think her name might have been Martha too. And, but I'm none of these people. I'm none of these people. I don't, know these people. I do not know them, and I am not them. And I sure in the hell ain't any of these people that Crystal's over there just, I think one of the last names was supposed to be Key. I mean, is there really anyone named Key? Like, you stick in a door to open it? I don't know. I don't know if that's even a real name. But supposedly, that was supposed to be my name. And, she's so far-fetched. So far-fetched. Country girl, I appreciate that. Member for 22 months. I'm so glad I found you. Hey, girl. I'm glad you found us, too. God bless. God bless. We're glad we found you. Yeah, some justice for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Point being is, I'm just tired. I'm tired of, constantly having to come out here and, announce that I'm not like all of these people that everyone wants to, act like PG is to make themselves, look good or feel better, or I don't know, or try to get some attention. Maybe it's for attention. I can let you guys know right now that these people do not know who I am at all. And I know that for a fact. And they need to quit, if like I said, if these people that Crystal's been making up existers, and half of the other ones that, something to say is making up existers, they're not me. They're not me. And I have to, I have to do that because I cannot allow, these people to, if something was to arise, like one of these families come out of the woodwork and decide to, go at these creators that's trying to say, that their loved one is PG. I do not want any ratifications from that. I don't want, these creators to be able to say, well, PG act like she was saying she was. No, I didn't. I have not ever once, not ever once, said that I was any of these people. I've always said I am not these people. Always. I've always came out and I've always let you know it's bullshit. And now I have to do it again. And I'll probably have to do it a few more times, no doubt, because everybody wants to act like they know me. No, you don't. No, they don't know me. They need to stop acting like they know me. And to be honest with you, I don't want to know these haters either. I don't want to know them. I don't come out here and, do stuff the way these people do. And I'm not going to start. It's not hard. The one thing PG knows for sure, it is not hard being evil. Oh, let me tell you, it's a cakewalk being evil. What's hard is being righteous. What's hard is doing the right thing, not the wrong thing. Trust me, I know. I don't have no problem being bad. It's being good that's hard to do. Right? That's what's hard to do. And I've been really trying. You guys. And I'm going to tell you what. I don't believe in doing what these people's doing out here. This out here ain't about PG. It's not about, Crystal. It's not about, any of these people. It's about Summer Moon Utah Wells, a missing 5-year-old child that needs to be found, brought home, and justice served. It's about Michael Vaughn, a 5-year-old little boy who disappears on his way down to some kind of swimming park, a water park in his neighborhood. Right? He's heading to a water park. Somehow he just disappears. Nobody knows where he's at. Everybody's looking for him. He needs to be found, brought home, justice served. Same way with Sebastian Rogers. He goes home. He supposedly goes to bed. And the next morning, he's nowhere to be found. Nobody knows what happened to him. This is a little boy who needs to be found, brought home, justice served. It's about these missing children, Jack and Lily, 2 little kids. Mommy's supposed to heard them playing over in the living room. Next thing you know, she said she saw, heard them playing outside. And then she said, no, she didn't hear them playing outside. That, that came later. Something about that came later. She didn't elaborate on what came later. But 2 little children, same household, completely missing, that need to be found, brought home, justice served. And that's what this out here is about. It's about, like the Lori Bello case, finding the answers, getting law enforcement to do all they can do to solve the case and to prosecute the evil people responsible. And right now, Lori has been prosecuted, life in prison, and they're getting ready to tack some more onto that, more onto those charges. Um, and she's playing her own attorney right now, right? And I don't know why, because I mean, she's already got life in prison. How much more can they give her? How much? What else could they do, right? I don't even know why they put on the circus that they have here recently, but it is what it is. And the Quentin Simons case, you know, thank God, law enforcement stayed with it. I don't think they would have if it wasn't to draw so much attention, but it draws so much attention that they did stay with it. They stayed with it. They moved forward, and they did everything they could, right, to find him, and they did, and they got justice. And that's what, that's why we're out here. This is why we're out here, because that baby, was missing, and he needed to be found, brought home, and justice served. And thank God it was. And Elijah Vu, same way. Right now, Elijah's getting, justice against the evil beings that, discarded him out in some woods, unalive, the poor little guy. But we got to fight for these kids. We got to, keep their pictures out here. We've got to stand up for them. We've got to let law enforcement know that we're watching and that we want everything done, in their power to find and bring these kids home and get justice for them. And that's what this whole thing out here is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about, victimizing innocent families by saying they're somebody they're not, right? That's not what it's about. It's not about, upsetting innocent human beings with a bunch of BS. But that's what's happening out here. And, I'm kind of fed up with it, to be honest. Hey, PG's little girl, I'm bringing you up. If you want to close cam, you can.
Hello.
What's up, girl?
Hang on, I'll show you what's up. Maybe I can't. Nope, can't. No, I can't. Don't know how to do it.
Looks to me like you're frying. You're frying. What is that, girl? Chicken?
Baked steaks for tomorrow.
All right.
Still here, rocking and rolling it. How you do it? Are you gonna be on a while?
Yeah, girl.
Okay.
Probably for a little while.
Okay. Well, I love you and prayers. Give me about a half hour or so, and I'll be home.
All right, girl.
All right. Love
I
y'all.
love you.
Love you.
Bye. She was a beautiful girl, 2 years old, found in a drawer, um, Chester drawers, dumped there in an old dump bug house. Wow. Yeah. There was I heard of a baby, a little baby that was born had some type of heart murmur, and I guess the hospital, the nurse had put the wires in her pocket, and forgot to take them back out, like when she was doing whatever with the baby, hooked the machines or something. She put, the wires in her pocket, and I guess she meant to hook them back in, but instead walked off, and the wires were still connected to the baby. The baby came out of the little crib or whatever it was in, and it unalived it. Um, that's awful. That's awful. Heaven got another angel, right? Heaven got another angel. You know, that was a total accident. That was a total accident. I mean, I don't know why you put cords, you undo cords. I don't know why you would put them in your pocket. That should be, against policy. That don't make no sense to do that, because that's something that could happen. But and it did, and it did. But I'm sure it was a total accident, and an accident that shouldn't have occurred, but it did. And heaven got another angel. The point being is, PG, what kind of statement are you trying to make? Well, I'm trying to make the statement that we lose enough children, right? We lose enough children to all kinds of other illnesses and real accidents and things like that every year. We should not be losing children to people who, purposely, to evil humans that purposely destroy them. Accidents you can't help, illnesses you can't help. But I'm going to tell you, you could help not hurting a child purposely. And there's people out here evil enough to do what they're doing to these missing kids. I don't understand why the law isn't harder, why the law isn't making examples out of these evil people, voluntarily destroying children. Like, for instance, shaken baby syndrome. Those people who do that, they purposely do that. They ain't able to control their tempers. They can't get themselves in check. I think that before you bring a child home, you should have to take anger management classes. Whether you have anger issues or not, it should be mandatory that all parents take an anger management class before leaving the hospital with a newborn child, so they could, get educated on how to control their anger and the seriousness of, losing control and what can happen to the child. I think, people need to be more educated on how severe their child can be hurt by in a split second of anger. And, so there should be more roadblocks to try to stop this, all of this stuff from happening to these children that can be stopped. And they should make examples out of parents who purposely destroy their children, who don't care enough to keep their child, healthy, wealthy, and well. I would make examples out of them. If you abuse a child, if you severely abuse a child, you should get 10 years. You should get 10 years automatically. And if you abuse it to the point that it no longer exists, you unlive it, then you should do life. You should do life in prison. It should be 10 to 20 just abusing a child. It should be life. No parole, no nothing ever if you unlive a child. Actually, if you unlive anyone, it should be life in prison. You shouldn't ever see daylight again if you if you take another life. You shouldn't ever see daylight again unless it was self-defense. That's the only way it should be, excused, is if you had no choice but to protect yourself against, something or someone. Hey, good to see you too, Stephanie. Good to see you, girl. Yeah, so I don't know. But bottom line is, this is about the missing kids. It's not about who PG is. It's not about sitting out here and giving out innocent people's names and informations and things like that. Matter of fact, I thought that that's against the rules out here, is to do things like that. That's what I'm going to look into it. I'm going to look into it because I believe it is. But yeah, hey, speaking truth, I appreciate it. Super sticker. All right, girl, you guys are starting PG's night off good. I appreciate the support for Summer's channel. God bless. But like I said, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good, you guys. In this Crystal girl, she's like, PG came over here and this and this. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Absolutely not. I mean, this Crystal girl said that her family, right? Her family, just on live summer, that her family destroyed an on live summer. Now, put a 1 in the chat if you remember her saying that, because that's what she said. That's exactly what she said. So if her family did this, then why is she out here talking or even trying to cover Summer's case? If she's got a family like that, why is she out here messing with any child's case at all? I mean, is she safe to be covering children's cases? If she has, if she's part of a family that does this, that actually, that destroys little children. If she's part of a family like that, I got to ask myself, is she safe to be out here, talking about and covering children's cases at all? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so because, according to her, she knows exactly what happened to Summer. Her family just, her own dad and them, her own family, unlived her and covered it all up from what she says, I actually, tomorrow night, God willing, I'm going to bring some things out here that I think you guys will be very interested in. Very interested in. I over the weekend here, last few days, I've had time to go back, listen and reflect on some things in Summer's case. And while I was doing that, there was a whole lot of things that, are pointing to some pretty, you know, there's a whole lot of things pointing to some really weird, evil stuff. Um, and I'm talking group activity. I'm talking group activities, and I'm going to be bringing that out. I think that Summer's case is a lot bigger and a lot more complex than we really have realized in the past. I think that there's some real sinisterness surrounding all of this, which I've always thought that Summer's case was pretty sinister. Um, for a while now, I thought that there's something really wrong with this particular case. Um, Something really creepy and airy and just not freaking right at all where this case is concerned. And I'm going to point some of these things out. And like I said, I don't know, I don't know how many of you know, I don't know how many of you guys are educated on occults, and occult activity, but you know, I know quite a bit about it. I know quite a bit about it. Wish I didn't. Wish I didn't. Sorry to say I do. So, um, you know, and I'm not talking, I'm talking some firsthand knowledge on this stuff. So, with that being said, I've taken some notes. I'm going to be bringing it out tomorrow night. Um, I think, I think it's going to probably shock a whole lot of you once you see the evidence to, to what I found. Um, and I found it right out of the mouth of someone very close to this case. And I'm going to spend some time tomorrow because I believe I can find even more evidence to it as well. That's a scary thing. It's a scary thing, for a child to be wrapped up in such a, in such a world of the unknown. Um, it's really hard for children. It's really hard for kids when, they got parents who affiliate themselves with this kind of stuff. Is super hard. But, that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow night. I think it's a real eye opener. And, it's going to be a real eye opener for you guys for sure. Not so much me. Like I said, I've always felt this case was was something not right with it or about it. I kept asking myself, why does this case got so many players? Why has it got so many players in it? Now I'm beginning to understand. And I think you guys will after tomorrow night. But hey, PG, do you know it's taking law enforcement so long with the law enforcement has to go through different channels. What you don't understand is, it takes ever and a day for law enforcement to get clearance to do anything. I mean, especially since the C word happened, everything's backed up. The court system is still backed up from the C word. They used the C word to have a giant vacation. And that giant vacation, you know, has given them the, opening to keep vacationing, and just doing whatever until they're ready to do what they want to do. And that's pretty much what's going on. I think you guys know how it is. I think you know how it is. You know, to still, all of us are still, you know, backlogged as well. When I say we're all backlogged as well, we all know what it's like to have to make appointments for this and have to do this for that, and um, everything's changed. Everything has changed, and it takes, like, I would like to say twice the time that it would normally take, but it takes like five times the time to get stuff done now. And I'm sure you guys have all been dealing with it as well. They don't have no problem. I mean, your bills ain't backlogged, are they? Your bills ain't backlogged. Well, you get those suckers right on time, and they make sure they pay it. You need to pay it. And your taxes and stuff ain't backlogged as well, are they? I know they got all of that stuff, even through the C word, all of that stuff was right on time, right? Um, but when it comes to, trying to get something put through the court system, or trying to get something put through, like the license bureaus or something, anything to do with, the government, end of the deal, anything you're trying to get done through the government or whatever, um, it takes forever and a day, right? Forever and a day, um, to get anything done. So I'm sure you guys understand better, maybe some better than me, that, and when it comes to, I mean, law enforcement was pretty slow before, but it's real super slow now. And, a lot of this we can only blame on we the people. We have to blame ourselves because, a lot of people turned. A lot of people turned on law enforcement over the past few years. I can't, I can't take one side or the other. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, you got like this handful of police officers that overstep their boundaries and are really not doing their job, and you call them out and they make you feel like the criminal instead of the victim, and they act like whoever the criminal is probably the victim, um just so they don't have to do their job, and hoping you won't call them again if they treat you like that. That's my opinion. That's the opinion I got, when I see the way law enforcement treats people. Um, that's the opinion I got. But you still got a lot of good police officers as well. You got a lot of them that that don't treat people like that. that, really do want to do their job. They really do want to get the criminals off the street. That's why they're a police officer. They're not a police officer so they could bully other people and be underhanded and undermined it with a badge on their chest. They really want to help people, and they really want to do the right thing by the people. And they got the job, honestly. And they wasn't ever bullied, and they're not looking to bully nobody. um you know so they're in there for the right reasons, and they're doing a good job. But you also have to, blame we the people, because how is law enforcement supposed to do their job? How are they supposed to get criminals off the street when people are supporting the criminals? How are they supposed to do their job when everybody's turning against them, for the criminals? And you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. That you just ain't going. That you can't do it. And I mean, either you want law enforcement to, to do what it takes to keep themselves safe while cleaning crime up off the streets, or you just want them to, pretty much do what they're doing. It's called nothing. It's called nothing because, they don't want to hear the backlash of the people when they do restrain someone and to get them off the streets, right? I mean, you got to get rough out there. If you're a police officer, you got to be rough. I mean, you can't be nice. You can't be, you can't handle people with kid gloves, or you will not be around very long. You won't be around very long. I mean, that's a dangerous job, a very dangerous job. And here you are, out there to protect these people that don't really want to be protected. And you're trying to not, ain't only protecting them, but you got to protect yourself. And if you don't protect yourself, you can't protect them. And these people are evil. There's evil people. Criminals are evil. And there's only one way to handle them. I'm telling you, criminals fight back. They fight back. And they don't care who you are. You go out to a house that's got some domestic violence going on and so forth. You can't walk up in there, trusting everybody to just break it up, be good. You go back to your corner. We ain't going to ring no bells for you to come out again, and go at this again. You don't handle it like that. You go up in there and this person's angry enough to be attacking and hurting, his spouse or his family or whatever. Well, he's going to be angry enough, to really go at you because he sees you as an outsider that has no business being there anyway. And you're in danger as well as that family's in danger of this person. But then when you do what it takes to restrain this person, you've got all of this backlash coming at you that, you didn't have to do it this way, and you didn't have to do that, and you didn't have to do this. And if you loved your loved one that much, don't call 911 on them, right? Just don't call law enforcement out there because, you're going to get, you're already, obviously, you call because the person's hurting you or you fear that they're going to. But you didn't worry if they're going to hurt anyone else. That don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. And summer's not going to be top priority in Rogersville, Tennessee. And I'll tell you why she's not going to be top priority. Because they got so many other cases that need to be handled right now. What I'm saying is like, for instance, you got a car accident. You got this real bad car accident. Well, the people in that car accident are going to come, before summer, because they have to. Law enforcement has to be out there, and they have to make sure that nobody was drinking and driving. They got to make sure nobody was under the influence, of illegal substances. They got to make sure, that a lot of things. It's not just about calling an emergency squad and moving these people to this place or that place. It's about it's about actually um it's about actually doing what needs to be done, um you know for the sake of the people needing it right now. And there's a lot of people, domestic violence. They have to take care of those cases. Automobile accidents, they have to take care of those cases. You know, um, you got illegal substance abuse going on. They have to take care of that. Just so much needs to be done. Yeah, I see her. I'm going to bring her up. Hey, Maddie, how's it going, sweetie?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing good, sweetie. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. Just had a shower and washed my hair, so it's drying. It's cold.
Oh, yeah. It's freezing where you're at, right? She's
How's
working.
your How's your day been?
It's been good. How about yourself?
That's good. Yeah, good. Nice sunny day.
Oh, wow. It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cold but sunny.
Yeah, cold with the it's cold but with the sun out.
Amen. I want to tell you, in the wintertime, any sun's better than none, right?
Yeah, it's nice sitting in the sunroom with the cats.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they keep you warm though. They lay on top of your hip like a mountain. Like they're
Right.
on top of a mountain.
Life treating you, life been treating you good, Maddie.
Yeah, it sure has.
Hey, I'm glad to hear that, girl. Good to hear
Yeah.
it. And how's your mama? How's your mama been getting along?
Yeah, good.
She's been getting along good too.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I
Been
got.
been to the movies a lot.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I went and saw Final Destination.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's a bit different than the old ones.
Do you go out with your girlfriends?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, I want to tell you. Hey, live life while you're
You
young.
sure
Live it.
have to.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Anyway, I better let you go. Gotta go charge my phone, but I hope you have a beautiful night.
Hey, girl, it's good chit chatting with you. You take care.
You
God bless
too.
and much love.
Bless you too. Bye.
Bye bye, sweetie.
Bye.
I love that girl. She's a sweetheart, absolute sweetheart. She's a really, really beautiful human. Really beautiful. God bless her. But yeah. Anyway, that I believe is why summer isn't at the top of the list. It's because law enforcement can't. The world don't stop. The world don't stop because of one missing child or two missing children or even 10 or 20. The world don't stop. Law enforcement stays busy all the time. And in a place like Rogersville, Tennessee, they're usually really understaffed anyway. I mean, you only got a handful of officers, and they stay busy all the time. Something's always going on. You've always got Dons and Candaces and Andys and Jody Sues and Freds and Lauras and you know, I mean, look at these people. Look at them. What a mess, right? What a mess. And you got thousands of them guys. You got thousands of them, like Chad Arnold's, Jimmy Long's, Marlena Crawford and her brother. You got, I mean, law enforcement's busy. They're very busy because this is what you've got all over the place down there. And and these people always doing something. They're always doing something that's causing law enforcement to have to work. And that's why, that they have to, I'm sure they're working on Summer's case, but they can't allocate everything to it. They can't allocate everything to it. I think they're doing all they can. I think TBI is doing as much as they can, but TBI, it's just a freaking small bureau of investigators that haven't really been in the works. They ain't even been in the works that long, right? And then you've got the feds, which are super busy, because the feds cover, all around America. I mean, they're not limited to Tennessee or, Kentucky or Virginia. Or, they work overall all the states, and so you can imagine how busy they are. I'm sure they're understaffed as well, right? They're probably understaffed as well. And from my understandings, when it comes to detectives, they get overloaded. They get overloaded with cases to the point that, they'll hand them off. They'll hand them off to someone else because, they are at the bottom of the pile. They're so overloaded, they can't get it back to the top. So they'll give it to another detective, that might be able to put it on top for a minute and, before it goes to the bottom. And then, he'll hand it off, hoping that, it gets a fresh eye and a fresh start. And to my understanding, Summer's case has been handed off like that a few times already. So, I don't know. I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing, and in my opinion, it's probably true. So, Andy came out tonight. Andy Bernard came out tonight, and he was talking about his dream. And and he lied. And he lied because Andy Bernard, and also he said, that PG said that he was, at the cemetery, supposedly stalking me up and this and that. And no, he wasn't. He wasn't at the cemetery. In my opinion, that was Chad Arnold, not Andy Bernard. Andy Bernard, I don't know where Chad, whoever it was, called Andy and let Andy know about about us being there. But no. APG's little girl, I can't see you. Okay. You shine the flashlight.
I'm on my way home. It's been 16 hours.
Right.
Had to do baked steaks and put them in for tonight. Leave them on low all night.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be done by 11 o'clock in the morning.
I heard that. But
I'll be home in about 10 to 15 minutes. Just wanted to let you know.
All right, girl. You drive careful.
The topic and stuff.
You drive careful. You hear me?
I will. I love you.
I love you too.
Later.
Bye-bye. Um, when Andy said that he had that dream, you know, Jody Sue came out and said that Andy terrorized his kids with his daughter. She said, telling them that, you know, that he had seen Summer's on-live body, and the Summer wasn't alive, that he's the last one to see her on-live body and all of this stuff. And Andy, when I confronted him about it the first time, he said Jody Sue was cray cray, right? That's what he was saying. That's his words, not PG's. He said she cray cray, trying to get at him. She's not able to say anything, and she's just a scorned woman, and all of this stuff, trying to do all she can to go at him and so forth and so on. And then later down the line, he says, it was a dream. And I said, what? And I think he thought it was funny. I think he thought it was funny to say it's a dream, Martin Luther King type thing. I had a dream. I think that's where they're getting it from. So anyhow, he said it was a dream. And so, and I didn't ever buy it because, the first time I encountered him and asked him about it, he said that, it was because, Jody Sue was just a scorned woman trying to, make him look bad and say about anything and all this stuff, which, I'm smart enough to know that you can't make that shit up. I mean, there's no way even Jody Sue ain't good enough to make that kind of shit up. And so I knew he's lying, right? I knew he was lying. I knew he said it, and he's lying. And also when his daughter came out and confirmed that he did say it to her and her brother, I kind of felt that the daughter was just kind of, in the path of what Andy was saying to his son. I don't think he was even talking to his daughter, is basically how I took it. When the little girl told, when the little girl talked, Jody Sue didn't ever say that, he was, that he was terrorizing both of the kids. She said that he was terrorizing their daughter. And, and just the daughter, and she got the daughter and came out. But the daughter, when the daughter was talking to the creator, the daughter said, I know he was talking to, me and Bub, which was her brother, or Bugs, or whatever they call this guy. I think his real name's Damien. But, the point being is I don't think Andy was talking to his daughter at all. I felt that Andy was talking directly to his son. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with me, because that's what I thought. I thought the daughter's just kind of in the way. You know how when your dad or your mom is jumping one of your brothers and sisters, and you just happen to be there. They're not really talking to you, but you're hearing everything they're saying, right? That's how I felt. I thought the daughter just kind of got, caught up in the cross thing there. And, so that was my, take on what I was hearing as they were speaking. And I felt that, Andy was kind of like, going at his son as if his son had done something wrong, right? I felt that he was like, I was the last, kind of like, I had to get into this, and I had to, be the last one to see this little girl's body because of you, buddy, because you went out, you did something. This is, has something to do with you type of thing with the boy. That's what my take on it was, right? And that's what I was thinking. So I don't know. And it's a that's my opinion. That's my opinion, and I'll keep it. I'll keep it. But I don't think it was no damn dream, and I really don't think it's no damn dream now, because he didn't ever mention no, seeing her and a grave and flowers and hearing funeral music. He didn't mention none of that shit. He didn't mention anything about none of that being in the dream. Absolutely not. He said, it was a dream, and he supposedly seen, Summer unalived, but he didn't say, he did not ever bring up, funeral music, open grave, and all of this, all this bullshit. Absolutely not. And therefore, that makes me believe even more so. And do you remember Jody Sue saying that? Do you remember Jody Sue saying that somebody calling the house talking about Andy and his boy supposed to be picking up Summer's body from the Wells house? Do you remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember Jody Sue talking about this phone call to the house. She said somebody called and was talking about Andy and her son supposed to be going over there picking up Summer's body. I clearly remember that being said. Matter of fact, I believe I have the recording of her saying that. I believe I have played it out before. I'm sure I do have the receipts on that. But yeah, she absolutely did. She did say it. That they supposed to went over there and picked it up. Now, also, there's Andy, right? There's Andy in the chat right now talking about BS. Listen, Andy, I'm not talking BS. I'm not talking BS at all. If I'm running, if I'm saying something, then obviously it's on target for you to show yourself up for it, right? I'm smart enough to know that, if I was off target, you wouldn't care. I have to be on target for you to care. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't be in the chat, but you do care because you are. So, that's just how it is, right? That's how it is. But did Andy's son do something? Did Andy's son do something, to cause Summer to have to be, disposed of? Was it his son? When Candace said, they wouldn't have treated her like that had I been there. Fred Heel said that he come up on the hill and it was Andy Bernard's son in a swimming pool with Summer, and all by himself. Like, he might have been getting a turn if that's the type of business they were running up there, right? And from what Jody Sue said, they were running that type of business, right? Andy was supplying the stuff to sedate little girls so they could be touched. And if he was supplying stuff to sedate little girls, not just Summer, but other little girls too, could Andy's son had been a customer? Could Andy's son had been the one that done something that, caused Summer, he couldn't restrain himself or whatever with a 5-year-old and possibly caused damage to where, I don't know. Could that have happened? Sorry, that was Hunter. He said, sorry, that was Hunter. Oh, that was Hunter that did that. So Hunter um was a customer that done something to Summer, couldn't restrain himself, did something that couldn't be repaired, that caused Summer to have to be destroyed. It wasn't your son, it was Hunter that did that. That's what you're saying, because that's what we're talking about. Good to know. Good to know, Andy. Good to know, because I felt someone did. I felt someone did it. That has always been my opinion, that someone did it. So, sorry that was Hunter. Well, there you go. My son didn't hang on the hill. Well, it doesn't matter if your son hung on the hill or not. You done gave me the answer I was looking for. You didn't give me the answer I was looking for. And I felt something was going wrong. Now I know that Hunter was up on the hill. Hunter totally lied. Hunter totally lied about he told Chris M. when he was talking with Chris M. Hunter told Chris M. He said, Chris said, "Did you notice anything else about Summer on that day on June 15, 2021, when you guys were sitting in the vehicle?" And Hunter said, "I noticed her hair was cut." Well, no, Hunter, you're a damn liar. What do you mean you noticed her hair was cut? You were right behind her when she was shaved completely bald. Matter of fact, Hunter might have been there at the very time Summer was getting her head shaved like that, right? Shaved like a freaking balloon. Yeah, he might have been there because, she was very bald when he's creeping up right behind her. You could tell it's him, his same pants he always wore, right? Like he only had one pair. He constantly had them on. And that's the pair he had on behind her when her head was completely shaved, which showed he had been up on the hill, just a few weeks prior to June the 15th, 2021, after her head had been shaved. So, Fred said that because he seen the pic of Hunter in the pool. No, Fred said he saw your son in the pool. Fred has not ever said that it was Hunter in that pool. Fred has always said it was your son in that pool. He said Candace and Donald and the kids were inside the house letting your son have free time out in the pool with Summer. That's what he said. And he said when he came up there and caught that shit, that Candace and Don came out and talked to him. And he was wondering why the hell this big old boy is in the pool with this 5-year-old little girl looking like a mouse that just got caught with the cheese. Right? Yeah. Don't ask me what's wrong with me, Andy. Don't ask me what's wrong with me. You go ask Fred what's wrong with Fred. I'm only repeating. If I tell you that the Bible says, hey, Andy, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, right? Thou shalt not covet. You ask me, what's wrong with you? There ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm just telling you what the Bible says. Ain't anything wrong with me. That's God's words, not PG's. You need to go take that up with God. You don't like what the Bible says? You need to be man enough to take your ass and go take that up with God, not with PG. I'm just a messenger. And Fred is the one that said it, not PG. I'm just repeating what Fred said for Summer's sake. Because you know what? Summer's the victim here. Not your son, not you, not Fred, not Laura, not Candace or Donald, or not any of the rest of y'all. Summer's the victim here, and that's all I care about. You know, that's what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me is I don't give a fuck about you, Andy. I don't give one fucking iota about your ass. What I do give a shit, or your son, or your freaking son. Let's make that clear right now. Nor do I care about your ex-old lady. I don't give a shit about none of y'all. What I give a shit about is this little girl that needs to be found, brought home, and justice served, okay? She's the victim, not you. Don't come in here playing it. Fred said it was your old boy that was up there in that pool. He never said it was Hunter. So don't even go there. Don't even try to spin the table on this one. Because that's bullshit. And if you have a problem with it, you need to go take that up with Fred. Oh, that's right. Fred's a man. You wouldn't want to go take it up with him now, would you? You'd rather pick on a woman than to go take it up with a real man. Well, according to your wife, Jody Sue, you are responsible. You are responsible, Andy. According to Jody Sue, you were the one supplying the stuff to sedate these little girls so they could be touched by these evil human beings. So they could possibly have to be destroyed if something went wrong, which sounds like it did in Summer's case, right? In Summer's case, it did go wrong. So you are to blame. If what Jody Sue said is true about you, and you were supplying stuff to sedate little girls, not just Summer, but other little girls too, then you are the problem. And no, she did. You know what? No. Back up, Andy. No, absolutely not. Because I have the recording. Would you like me to play it for you? Because I can. I can definitely play you the recording real quick where Jody Sue says, you go ask him. You ask him what he was using to sedate those little girls. And you ask him what it was other than what you're saying right there, the goody good shit. You ask him what it was other than that. So what she's saying is it wasn't goody good, Andy. It was something else you were supplying to sedate these little girls, right? And that came out of your ex-old lady's mouth. Matter of fact, she said you didn't even trust you around your own daughter anymore. She said you were at the Priceless or some store on the parking lot trying to pick up preteens, trying to pick up little girls 12 and under. Right? That's what Jody Sue said. She said you're into that stuff. Matter of fact, she said you were over there on that hill into that stuff. And she didn't know it until something bad happened. She didn't know it until then. And she's not going to, she's not standing in front of you no more. She's not going to be protecting you anymore because, she don't need to protect you when you're with something else. You're no good to her, so why should she protect you? Right? Yeah. Face the music. But you did not ever say at all about any, music, open grave, and all this shit. Absolutely not. And then you said, I always heard the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. Well, if you always heard that, then that must have, that little piece of advice that grave was over there open came from you. It came from you. So if Summer is down in there, when they do exhume it, which I'm pretty sure they're going to check into that. But I'm pretty sure when they do and she's there, you're probably going to end up getting arrested. Possibility, maybe, in my opinion. You're probably going to get handcuffed. And you're probably going to get handcuffed for, because you know about vehicles. Don Wells don't. And I think Don Wells changed up his vehicle that day because of you. Because you changed up driving Jody Sue's car so you would have GPS. And Don changed up so he would have Starlink. And I kind of always thought that was your ideal for the extra alibis to show you guys were at work, not just your phones, but your vehicles as well. And both of you seem to, both of you seem to be running home around noon. And that day you didn't run home at all. So, what's up with that? What's up with that? Both y'all asses stayed at work hiding with your tails between your leg until you knew law enforcement had been called and it was safe to come in like you've been at work all day. Bullshit. I don't think you guys were as smart as you thought you was. I really don't think you're kind of ignorant if you ask me. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. Yeah, you was running. Andy, sometimes you didn't go to work at all. Other times you get off early and go home and be hanging around over at the house and everything. Yes, you was. Yes, you was. You didn't go to work and stay at work all the time. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Your ass was on that hill quite a bit through the work week. Through the work week, your ass was over there on the hill quite a bit. It ain't BS. It ain't BS. It's the truth. Just like your ass was home. Just like your ass was home the day that good old Mr. Old Dobbs pulled in there to take over his land. Your ass was home that day, Andy. You come descending down the hill onto this guy, you and your old lady, running him off, getting him out of there, then went looking for him. And you and Don and Grandis and King, all y'all was down there. All y'all was down at the end of the property. Mother freaking just whooping it up. You guys were down there whooping it up. Sucking up your liquor, talking, sharing some goody good shit and having it going down there. Half after Dobbs left, you guys were down there all the way up until it got freaking dark, and Grandis took the kids up on the hill, and your all's asses left to go look for Dobbs, right? What was you looking for him for? What was you looking for him for? You ain't never explained that one. You pleading the fifth on it. I'm sure you are pleading the fifth. Because I'm sure it could incriminate you if you told the truth as to why you were looking for him. Absolutely. Just like the Wells, you and your old lady's been playing games for almost 4 years now. Just like the mother freaking Wells. You played your games. Fred and Laura played their games. All of you mother freakers playing games. All of y'all playing a bunch of damn games. And you know what? It's about time that God intervenes and stops all of your games. It's time that God wipes the smile off y'all's face. That chuckle, takes that chuckle away from you that you think is so damn cute and funny to do. And I'm sure he will. Trust me. God will make sure. God will make sure that grin comes off your face and that chuckle comes out of your ass. He'll make sure. Trust and believe that. I'm going to tell you, Summer's going to have attention until one of you evil fucks speak up and tell the truth about where she is. and what truly happened. And I think you know, because you had yourself at Don Wells' house the very night before he went to jail. You had your ass there. You was there, and there would have been no reason for you to be there other than to tell Don to keep his damn mouth shut. And that's my opinion. I'll keep that too. And I know you was there. I know you was there. I heard you. You were there. Yes, there's a $250,000 reward for Summer Wells and Sebastian Rogers. Either one of those children are found, you get $250,000. There's a reward up. Whichever one of those children are found first and brought forth will get 250,000. Absolutely. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. 250,000. That's true, Scotty Too Hottie. That's true. He wouldn't give a damn. But he does give a damn. He does give a damn. And I must have been tapping on something. I must have been tapping on something, baby, because when I mentioned up his son, he brought himself right in here, right? And I always thought that he was talking to his son, not his daughter. Always thought that he was going at that son. And over the Summer Wells case, I always felt that he was going at that boy of his for some reason. And and then Fred saying the boy was over there up in a pool with Summer and everything. And I hate to say it, but them boys down there ain't the best looking boys. They ain't the best looking boys. I don't care. I don't care if people find me to be, a little mean or whatever. I don't care what people find me to be. I'm going to tell you now. There's just some people that's so ugly that their faces stop a clock. And those people have a hard time getting anything. And those people resort to some really weird stuff when they, when they can't get nothing else, right? And there's a whole lot of people up there in Ben Hill Road that mother freaking, fit that mother freaking description right there. A face that stop a clock, and a damn body too. What I'm saying is, it's one thing to have an ugly face, but a nasty looking body as well. That's just disgusting. And these people out there has it. I mean, they are ugly humans in the world. There's ugly humans in the world. We all got eyes. Who are we trying to lie to? Who are we trying to lie to? I mean, you see something, there's like people probably walked up, there's probably been some acne ridden faces that's walked up and smiled at you, and you're like, oh hell no, right? Oh hell no. You need some freaking Clearasil. You need some something. I mean, how the hell your face get like that if you've been washing it? Something ain't right. I mean, and I don't care what anybody says. I mean, we all went to school with those people that were unkept, ungroomed, and people tell us, oh, you got to feel sorry for them. Why should I feel sorry for people that, that can use a bar of soap and water just like everybody else does? Why do I have to feel sorry for people that, can put as much time in their self in the mirror as everybody else does? Why do I got to feel sorry for these people? I'm tired of people acting like I got to feel sorry for everybody, because I don't. That's just BS. Get a bar of soap, man. Scrub where it needs to be scrubbed. Right? There ain't no reason. I'm not going to feel sorry for somebody that's mother freaking smelling like Pepe Le Pew in my presence. I'm going to feel sorry for my damn ass. I'm going to feel sorry for me having to smell that. Okay? I'm going to feel sorry for me having to look at it. I mean, who wants to look at someone with a pizza face? You wouldn't want to be eating your pizza. Why can't people take care of their personal hygiene? Why can't they take care of themselves? I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept it because I don't have to. Right? And I hate to say it, but Hunter, he wasn't the best looking boy I ever seen. And neither was Andy Bernard's son. I mean, neither one of those boys, I don't, in my opinion, neither one could get a date. Neither one could get a date unless they went out with something else. They couldn't get a date either. That's my opinion. Right? I don't give a fuck. I say it like it is. I don't care. And you got this 5-year-old little girl over here across the road that's supposedly being sedated up along with other little girls for people like that to have at. I feel sorry for those little girls. That's what I feel sorry for. I feel sorry for those little girls who didn't have a choice. I feel sorry for those little girls that, had to endure what they endured by these evil people because they couldn't say no. Right? Nobody wants grubby looking people touching them. Nobody. That's just disgusting. Yeah. I'll say everything they won't say. I don't have a problem saying it. I'm going to tell you something. I wouldn't want some old, ugly, bad breath, stinky person. Some old, stinky, evil person. Smells like the Reaper already stepped in them and getting ready to take them on. Breathing on me. I wouldn't want it. Could you imagine being 5 years old and having that? Would you imagine being 5 years old and having some piece of face touching you? Could you imagine some smelly, slobby, sweaty, disgusting weirdos having at you? Freaking dragon breath, right? When they breathe, hell, sedate you. I would think their breath would be enough to put you out for a while, right? There's some people that actually breathe on you and you feel like you're going to pass out. Like you don't know what the hell just came out of their mouth, right? Like, could you need to stand over there if you talk to me. because I don't want to smell that shit. There is some people, I promise you, I don't think there's enough Tic Tacs in the world to kill the stench in their mouth, let alone on their freaking bodies. It's disgusting. And I'm not going to feel sorry for these people because they need to learn how to brush their teeth. They need to learn what mouthwash is. They need to chew some bubble gum. They need to do something. Mother freaking drink some mother freaking lemonade. I don't know. I always heard lemon juice as opposed to, I heard freaking lemon juice or tomato juice or something. I think it might be tomato juice. Supposed to red the smell of a skunk. Well, that's how these people be smelling. Why don't they get some tomato juice and take a bath in it? Drink it. When they, drink that shit. Just disgusting. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to tell you, usually people with that odor are evil. People with that kind of odor, they're evil. I mean, you can smell them coming, right? You can smell them coming. Just saying. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something. No working man should be, up on Ben Hill Road trying to have that 5-year-olds. But I think that smell goes a little farther than a working man. I think their smell up there goes way farther than that. I hear their smell makes people want to puke. I'm going to tell you, I was married to a working man. And I'm going to tell you, he didn't ever, that man could cut grass. He could trim hedges. He could work out in the mother freaking sun all day long. And it didn't make you want to puke. That's for damn sure. I mean, I know I'm a hardworking man. He, might smell like some sweat, a little bit of sweat. Might need to, take a good shower. But I'm going to tell you, these people, thank God, I haven't had the honor to mother freaking smell them. And I sure to hell wouldn't want it. But I know people who have, and they said that it would make you want to puke. Literally, it made them hold their breath. They thought they were going to turn a different color before they could get to some fresh air and let it out, right? I mean, some people, I don't know, but I hear those people up there, they smell so bad you could taste it. Now that's what I've been told. That's pretty disgusting. And Donald dresses better than Andy. Shoot, Andy was out there showing. Did you see Andy out there with oh, the dude with the woo woo old lady? His wife's a woo wooer. they was trying to act like Christians too, and you found out that they were like woo, I think they were fake woo wooers, because she was like, oh, you know, I'm having a vision. I'm having a vision. It's up there. I'm having a vision. There's something up there, and yeah, it was a twisted tea can that she had just disappeared and drank and threw down and went back to get. Right? It's like, what the hell? You got to be kidding me. I could tell that thing had just been thrown down there. I mean, there was no dust or anything on it. The only thing that thing had on it was her fingerprints after she drank it up and threw it down, right? And I think she thought she might have left a sip or two in it. That's why she had to run back and take a look with everybody to make sure she got it all. What the hell? Yeah, Ryan. Anyway, he was with up there with Ryan, and next thing I know, it was like, oh wow, you know, boy, um, talk about, yeah, dumb lap, right? That belly done lapped over where it shouldn't be. Um, yeah, that was, and then like I think he was wearing a thong. I really think he had a thong on. That was weird. I don't know where he got it, but might have been Jody Sue's. But I think he was wearing it. I don't know. It sure did look like it. It was like, whoa, this is a little too much, you know. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm blind, right? It was horrible. Like, don't let me see that again. Nobody wants to see it again. That's for sure. And even Ryan was like, whoa, he was all staring right at it. That was weird too. I'm like, dude, you need to turn your head away. What are you staring like that for? I mean, I don't know, look like disbelief. Could have been the same look I had on my face. I don't know. I know I couldn't believe it. I was like, dude, keep your shirt down. Pull them pants up. But yeah, Andy was letting it all hang out. Yeah, Chris does a really good job. He does a really good job at, asking questions. I I kind of wish that when he asked Allison, you know, I wish when he had Allison on the fence, because Allison told him, I don't know. I thought Summer was, alive, but now, going back and seeing everything, um, you know, I'm not sure if she was alive or not, type thing. I think he should have kept her on the fence. You know, he should have not have mentioned Hunter. He shouldn't have mentioned Hunter. He shouldn't have mentioned her son, because that split second, she kind of forgot her son was there. And, you know, what he should have said is, oh, so you think that she's on live, right? I think that too, or we share the same sentiments. Um, you know, um, yeah, I mean, I wish, I wish that's good. I'm glad to hear that. PG's little girl. I'm glad to hear you're at home safe. Um, and I kind of wish he would have, he would have kind of let her fall into that trap before he told her about Hunter being there. I wish he would have let her fall into the trap and then said, yeah, well, where does Hunter play into all of this if she wasn't alive? Because he was there, you know, kind of thing. And then seeing what she had to say. Um, I, you know, I just kind of wish that, that would have been different. Because he really had her. I mean, he really had her there for a second. And I wish he wouldn't have, I wish he wouldn't have turned loose of her. But, everything goes so fast you know, and you don't know, when, somebody's going to want to end everything and so forth and so on. So, when you're sitting on someone's porch like that and you're asking some really hard and sensitive questions and everything, you don't know, you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared, for everything. And that can make you nervous. That can make you, not be on top of everything. And, I mean, haven't you ever like wished you said something? Like, have you ever been talking to someone and really had an opportunity to get some information and you wish you'd ask, more questions or different questions or elaborated, had them elaborate more on a certain thing so that you could have got more intel on it. Um, and I think we all do it. I think we all do it. I know I do sometimes. Sometimes, I wish I could have let it, kept it going a little bit longer to get more information. You know, or thought of asking something that I didn't, because I had the opportunity and, and it wasn't, wasn't thinking. Sometimes, I find it's always best to write down, like if you're going to talk to someone, have a list. Always make a list of what like, whether you get to talk to someone or not, you should make a list of what you'd like to ask them, because somebody else might get the opportunity and you might get the opportunity to, hit them up and say, hey, if you could you ask the person this, 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 and this, and they will, and you'll get the answers anyhow if you've got that list. Um, so it's always good to, write a list of things you would like to know about someone and, in case you do get the opportunity to ask them, some questions. I have that list waiting and ready. And if they do pop up, pull it up and get all the answers, right? Get all the answers, write them down. And that way you could use them, then and in the future to piece things together. That's how every case is a puzzle. Every case is a puzzle. And if you get all the pieces to that puzzle, then you solve that case. It's not easy, but it can be done. All things are possible with God. All things are possible with God. I'm going to tell you something. Fred Hill Fred Hill said that Andy's son was over there in a swimming pool with Summer, just not too long before Summer went missing. I asked Fred. I said, "Are you sure it wasn't Hunter?" Because I thought Fred was mixing their son up with Hunter because I didn't know if he knew Hunter from their son. And he said, "No, it wasn't Hunter. It was Andy's son." And Fred Steele, to this day, has always stuck to no, it was Andy's son. And he's always stuck to he felt that it was really weird. It was really weird. He always has stuck with, having the feeling that there was some weird stuff going on between this boy and Summer. He's always stuck with that feeling that something wasn't right. Something wasn't right with that boy being in the pool with this little girl. He's always stuck with that too. And seeing that, Jody Sue said that these kids are being sedated and being, so they could be touched by these weirdos, that would make perfect sense. That would make perfect sense. They say always go with your gut, right? Always go with your gut. It's when you ignore your gut and start using your head that you mess up. You always, if you don't go with your gut, you wish you did, right? If you don't go with that gut feeling, you always wish you did. I saw the picture. It was on the internet. I thought I saw that too. I thought I had saw a picture and that had confirmed it was her son in that pool. I thought I did back early on. I'm going to tell you, I hope that law enforcement, I believe they are taking the cemetery, taking the cemetery, you know, I really do believe that they are taking the cemetery seriously right now. I really believe that, it is a legible tip, a solid tip. I think it is going to be looked into. That's my opinion. I think they are going to be looking into it. Um, I, I probably shouldn't say this. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I did hear that detectives has been up there. I did hear that detectives have been up there checking out that particular site. That they've been up on Morrison Cemetery. They've been up there, Morrison Cemetery, actually looking over this particular grave site, um, taking pictures, um, writing down, the dates, the man's name, the dates and everything on the tombstone. I heard they were up there sketching something down, which, I can't say it was really the dates and stuff, but I would assume it was because they were seen writing, looking at the particular stone and writing on a pad, a scratch pad. Um, and they was taking pictures. I heard that, they have been keeping surveillance around it, and so forth and so on. Periodically, time to time, I hear that, officers have even been up there. Officers have been, you know, just riding through and checking things. Um, this is what I'm hearing, that there has been people over there from law enforcement on looking into stuff. So, you know, that's what I'm hearing through the grapevine. Did I actually see it? No. I didn't actually, I didn't actually see, everything, but I did through the grapevine, hearing everything. So, with that being said, I believe they're taking stuff serious. Put it this way, Morrison Cemetery's been getting more traffic lately than it has in a long time. There you go. Yes, Don and Candace are definitely on 110 Ben Hill Road. Yes, they are. Don and Candace both are at 110 Ben Hill Road. Yes, they are. Both of them. And the big bus, the big ass bus. Last time I seen up there, the big bus was still there too. And there was somebody just left some stuff there. There were some people up there leaving stuff down at the bottom of the driveway. They were down there messing around at the bottom of the driveway. I don't know who they were, but there was people at the bottom of Don and Candace's driveway messing around down there. Uh, you can't really see the house. You can't really see the house from down below. You can't get a real good view of the house from down on Ben Hill, the road down there. You can't really see. So I don't know if the house is boarded up or not. But I can tell you, Don and Candace both have been coming and going from 110. There were some other people hanging around down there as well recently. So there is traffic. There is traffic coming in and out of there. I don't think their house is boarded up. No. Um. um. Tomorrow night, I got a lot is coming out for you guys tomorrow night. God willing. God willing. Um. I've been awful busy here lately, you guys. I've been very, very busy. Um. You know, like everyone else. I've got a normal life behind all of this. I've got a normal life going on, and I've been, quite busy in that normal life. And so I don't get out here. I don't get out here as much as I'd like to. Um, but I try to get out here as much as I can with everything going on. I tried to make it out here as much as possible. And but hopefully I'm out here tomorrow night, you know, and but I got a whole lot. I got quite a bit that's gonna shock people, you know, quite a bit. Um, I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, there is quite a bit, going on. Quite a bit of stuff we missed in the beginning of all of this. You know, we keep missing so much, and having to come back to it, and having to come back to it. But that's okay. That's okay. A lot of cases go on for years. A lot of cases go on for years and years before they're solved. You know, but somebody diligently stayed on it to get it solved, didn't they? Somebody diligently stayed on it to get it solved. Some cases, 20, 30, 40 years, but somebody stuck with it to make sure that it got solved. And that's all you need. All you need is someone persistent enough to want to solve something, and it will get solved. Hey girl, I appreciate you guys. You know it. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna tell you. And Don and Candace was pretty upset about it, right? They was pretty upset about him coming out there with that drone and getting all that footage. Yeah. And I tell you, they will destroy your drone. They'll destroy your drone if they get an opportunity, they'll destroy it. Well, Fred's still around and Ziggy's still around. I think that, Ziggy and Fred, personally, I just think that, you know, they, I think Ziggy really didn't ever want to get into the true crime community to begin with. I think, it was something she did to supplement her income because, she was having a lot of difficulties doing, you know, taking care of herself and her daughter. And I think that, when she married up Fred and seeing that they're able to make it on the income they got coming in together, and she decided she doesn't really want to be out here and go through all of this. This is a lot to go through out here. You've always got these haters and these people coming at you, and it's like they just don't know how to leave people alone. They need you for their content. They need you for their content because they don't know how. They're not intelligent enough to put together their own content. They're not intelligent enough to do the well, actually, they're probably just too lazy to do all the work. They want you to do all the work, and then they want to use you for their content so that they don't have to do nothing but just pop up and be a pain in somebody's backside, right? And that's what they do. And that's what they do. And then they're like freaking nobodies, right? They're like nobodies talking about somebody. And it's ridiculous if you ask me. Just saying. Every creator, every creator that's worth the salt in their bread gets picked on. Every creator that actually is doing things the right way. And I think Ziggy was at the beginning. I think at the beginning Ziggy was doing, trying to do what was right for these missing kids. I think he was really calling it out pretty much the way it was. and so forth and so on. But then she went down to Tennessee and kind of got mixed up with the suspects and, signed up Domwell's contract and got a puppy from them. And, you can't do that. You can't be doing that. You cannot, you can't be friending up the suspects. You can't be, doing that. That's just, you know, did Fred Hill have anything to do with Summer Moon Utah Wells coming up missing? Um, I don't think so. I don't think so. Does Fred Hill have knowledge? Does he carry knowledge of, what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells? Yes, I think he does. I think Fred does carry a lot more knowledge than we think. I think Fred, I think Fred had a hand knowingly and unknowingly, um, in what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells. You know, um, I don't, do I think he unlived her? No. I think all that was taken care of at the horse pond. Um, you know, with three people there, and none of them was Fred. I truly believe at one time I thought, possibility Fred and Laura took Summer out of there, but I don't think so anymore. I don't think so. After Chad Arnold, after we found out Chad Arnold is not a good person at all, right? After we found out that, Chad Arnold likes to stock people up over at the cemetery by that grave, that had just been freshly dug back, June 15th, 2021. So I don't think so. And Chad Arnold happened to be the one that Candace was meeting down at Fred. She wasn't meeting Fred and Laura. She was meeting Chad Arnold down there. And, and it just so happened that, Marlena Crawford was the one calling Candace about the time Candace actually went down there and met up with Chad. So I think Marlena's the one that called in to let Candace know Chad was there. And and that's when Candace put the phone on the back of Donnie's truck and took her ass off the hill down to Fred's house and, hooked up with Chad Arnold, followed Chad Arnold out of Ben Hill Road. And in my opinion, right over to Morrison Cemetery where that grave was. And I think that, because do I think that, Andy Bernard or Jody Sue had anything to do with the unliving of Summer Wells? No. But I do believe that Jody Sue was telling the truth about Andy selling stuff to Candace to sedate those little girls. I do believe those little girls were being sedated and touched. That's my opinion. I believe everything Jody Sue said about that. I don't think she lied, at all. And I think there was a lot of little girls who were victims. I won't name names, but I'm sure you guys, I'm sure all of you, have your suspicions on who they were. You know, personally, I think I think one was lucky enough to get dropped off at home before Summer went missing. I think that, it's a very good possibility that that was one of the ones that Jody Sue was talking about, on top of, some of Allison's family as well. I think there was quite a few. I think there was quite a few that, these people were, doing some bad stuff too. And, if you ask me, that's my opinion. And and I don't think it was limited to little girls as well. I don't think that it was limited to little girls, just little girls, because if we remember right, those little boys asked to write the judge if they wasn't able to see the judge about not ever going back to that place. So I don't think it was limited to just little girls. I think there was some really sinister shit going on, in my opinion, up there on Ben Hill Road. I think, yes, yes. I think the Wells boys. I think the Wells boys had a pretty damn good idea what happened to their sister because they know what was happening to them. When you know what's happening to you, you know what's going. I mean, when you live in a home, when you live in a house, you pretty much know what's going on in it. You know, and if somebody completely disappears, you're going to have a pretty good idea, you know, if it was someone else or someone right there in your presence, you're going to have a pretty good idea who did it. You know, you're going to have your suspicions, and if you poke around long enough, you'll get the answers, right? And I'm pretty sure after Summer went missing, her brothers, they were still there. They were still up there for a few weeks. And I'm sure they were listening and poking around. And I'm sure I'm going to tell you, those boys heard whispers and they heard talk and whispers between Candace, Grandis, and Don that nobody else heard. So I'm sure they got a damn good idea what happened to their sister. Absolutely. No, there is no statute of limitation on living a person. Absolutely none. No statute whatsoever. And Ronnie Lawson and Detective Pruitt, they're getting very, very old. Matter of fact, they're getting retirement ages. And and more than likely somebody else is going to come in. Somebody else is going to, take their places. And I think when somebody else, when new people take their places, I think that's when we're going to find the real answers to what happened to Summer. Um, that's my opinion. For some reason, law enforcement just don't drop the ball. Law enforcement does not just drop the ball the way the ball has been dropped on Summer's case. That's not, that's like, in my opinion, that's purposely done. It's no accident. I feel it was purposely done. That's my opinion. Put a 1 in the chat if it's yours. Because that's how it feels, that's how it seems. I mean, it seems like there's been more than enough to prosecute the hell out of the Wells for what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells. And it hasn't been done. So, and I don't think anybody needs Summer to be able to figure out that, these people had all to do with it. I mean, that's my opinion also. I'll keep it. But, just saying. Well, I'm going to tell you, I know since this gravesite has come up, since the gravesite has been a topic, since the gravesite's been a topic out here, and everyone's trying their damnedest to get law enforcement to go look into it, to check it out, to at least, to at least come out with a briefing letting us know that it's been looked into, thoroughly looked into, and found to be, a no-go, or a go-go. Um, at least they could give us that. But since we've been, doing everything we can to get this grave looked into, I took note that, Candace has been doing a lot more lives, riding with Don here, riding with him there, and she's brought herself out here more. I noticed that, Tim Mullins has been, pounding the Find Summer Wells site a lot more, with all kinds of stuff, especially with the boys, the awesome threes, and all of this stuff, and trying to put the focus on the boys, the boys, the boys. And why? To take it off of summer. To take it off of summer, you guys. They don't want the focus. And why would Tim Mullins not want the focus on summer? Why is Tim Mullins always trying to divert the attention to the boys? I mean, he's been doing that from day one. And I'm going to tell you, I don't feel that Tim just barely came into this shit when Summer went missing. I don't feel that he did. I mean, what's the word that Hunter likes to use? An old head? I think he's an old head, right? He's an old head in all of this, if you ask me. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have that. But, but he's been really, trying to do everything he can to divert all the attention onto these boys instead of Summer. And Summer's the one missing. Summer's the one that needs to be found, Tim Mullins. Summer's the victim in all of this, Mr. Tim Mullins. This little 5-year-old girl is the one needing to be found, brought home, and justice served. We know where the boys are, and we know they're living a hell of a lot better life than they ever had on 110 Ben Hill Road, okay? And we got a little girl completely missing that needs to be found, brought home, and justice served. Sir, why ain't you focusing on that? Why don't you focus on that? Oh, well, that might get you some non-brownie points with the whales, or is there even a more deeper reason why you don't want to, talk about Summer? I'd like you to answer some questions, Mr. Tim Mullins. I'd like you to answer why you're not focused on the little girl needing to be found, brought home, and justice served. I want you to answer why you're always focused on these boys, which I think is very unnatural. Just saying. I think it's very unnatural. If you're the one running that particular site, posting up all of this stuff, that's really fucking weird, to say the least. And not only that, Mr. Tim, but I kind of found you to be creepy and weird when you were taking your camera and focusing way in on people, and then focusing out, and then focusing way in, and especially focusing in on isolated places or isolated homes or isolated people, and then staying there for so long. Like you would focus in where there's a bunch of homes and stuff, you focus in just for a second and back out. But when you caught focus of something that looked isolated, like a home that had no other homes around it or something, you would focus in and keep it focused and keep it focused and keep it focused. What the hell's going on there? Why would you do that? I found that to be really creepy. And it is true. It is true that you did that. Just like when you were down there and you was focused in on that boat and that family on the boat, and you was really interested, and you zoom way, way in and just like trying to get a look at everything you could. That's just weird. Yeah. Something ain't right there. Something ain't right there. I don't personally know Tim Mullins. Don't want to. Don't want to. I'm going to tell you, he thinks a lot of himself. He thinks a lot of himself. He don't need nobody thinking a lot of him because he thinks a lot of himself already. That's for sure. And he does some really weird stuff. And I don't think he just really came into all of this stuff at the beginning of Summer's case as well. I mean, he came out of the woodwork, but I think he was in the woodwork the whole time, to be honest. That's my opinion. Because I remember when he first showed up around the Wells house, and I found it kind of weird, I found it kind of weird that, he felt so comfortable. Like if you don't know someone, you're not going to feel so comfortable like he did. And not only that, but also, you're not going to let some fucking stranger you don't know come in and start, um, putting everything together on your computer. You're not going to trust someone to be, putting everything on your computer. And Don and Candace let this guy straight in. They let him, upload and do everything on their computer. No. And then Don gives him his phone. What I'm saying is they're trusting this guy with their computer. They're early on. This was early on. This is like right after Summer went missing. They're trusting this guy with a new laptop they had just got. They're trusting him to, to do everything with it. And then, they're trusting him when Don went to jail, trusting him with their phones and everything. I'm going to tell you, this ain't no stranger to Don and Candace. This is somebody they had to have known for quite a while before Summer went missing. That's my opinion. So what do you guys think? What do you think? Are you going to open your door up and, are you going to open your door up and just let some weirdo run, you're going to just hand a brand new computer to some weirdo and let them upload and do everything to this computer for you? You're going to trust them enough to not, to not put in passwords and stuff that, that they can access off of their own computers? I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to, it isn't hard at all to share the computer to another computer. What I'm saying is, you can basically share your office computer to your home computer. So, if you're at your office, you can get into everything. And if you go home, you can open up and get into everything as well. And so with you having this knowledge that, you can share your computer with other computers and so forth, if you know about technology, you're not going to just let some weirdo come in and, upload everything and do all this stuff to, set up and upload and everything your computer. You're not going to do that. I mean, give me a yes. Give me a yes if you would let someone come in and do that. Give me a no if you wouldn't. Why yes or a no? I mean, let me know. Let me know. Would you let a stranger in to do that? Yes or no? No. And I wouldn't either. And I would not either. Absolutely hell to the no. Definitely not. You're right. Absolutely no. That could be, Janet. That could be. I think there was a lot of diddlers. I think there was a lot of diddlers hanging around that heel. I think there was some really, really weird shit going on with a whole lot of really, be honest with you, I think there's a whole lot of SAers hanging around up there. Andy supplying the stuff to sedate these kids so they can be touched. Well, if they can't be touched if there's not a bunch of SAers hanging around to touch them, right? They got to be a bunch of SAers. Just saying. Absolutely. Disgusting, right? Absolutely disgusting. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And all of these motherfuckers are playing games and all of them's lying. Yes, his name is Tim Mullins. I did look into Tim. I did look into him. Not extensively, but I did look into him. That's how I know that, what he was doing with his camera and he did have a wife. He was married. His wife obviously is deceased. I think they have a couple of children, at least a daughter, I believe. And him and his wife went to some place. They had some favorite place they went to. He was out there one time filming it, going through it, talking and reminiscing about the old days when, him and his wife would be there and the things that they would do and stuff like that. You know, yeah, he's really, he, it sounds like when he was with, it sounds like once upon a time he might have been normal and he became weird or something, with that camera. He became all weird. I don't know. That's just like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, when it comes to Tim Mullins. That's the vibe I get. That's my opinion. But anyway, I think I've kept you guys long enough. There was a lot more stuff I'd like to got out, you know. But God kind of took us where Summer needed us to be tonight, right? I think the Lord led this one. I can't say I did because I had, tons of content down here that, I had planned on bringing it tonight, about and so forth, dirty mattress and all. I had plenty of stuff that I like to brought up. I was going to share out tonight, and that's the way it is. When you're a creator, you put all your content together, you bring it up, out to the receipts, you put them all in order and you bring them up, and you kind of win your case, right? Win your case about what you're talking about. You make it solid and bona fide with with the suspect's own words and so forth and so on. And when I came in here, I was on a certain path to talk about and to show receipts upon, but God took us somewhere else tonight. You know, that was more important. That was more important. And I think, and I think that's where we're supposed to went, because, had God not got us off the path and put us on the one he wanted us on, well, Andy wouldn't have come in here and said, Hunter did it, right? He said that's what Hunter did when I was talking about, on someone maybe not being able to control themselves and, hurt Summer to where it couldn't be repaired at a hospital or anything, or couldn't be healed on its own. He said, no, that's what Hunter did. So, and Andy would know. If he's supplying the stuff, then he would know the one that did it, right? And he said that it was Hunter. So, we wouldn't have got that insight and that information. And, is he telling the truth? Is he telling a lie to protect his own? We don't know. I don't know. I just know that, it was done. I just know that, our suspicion is right, because all of a sudden he put it on Hunter, right? So that means that, yeah, our suspicions was right. Something happened that couldn't be fixed. They were going to end up going to prison, and Summer had to be done away with before that happened, right? So Andy at least let us know that we are on the right path. And yep, what we was thinking was right. Now, who did it? Was it Hunter? Was it his son? Was it somebody else? We don't know. But at least we know that was the reason. And I'm sure Andy would know, because, like I said, he was the one supplying the stuff for it to all be done according to Jody Sue, right? And it seems like, he was the one that hooked Don Wells up to drive the other vehicle so that it would be a double alibi, the same way he did that day as well. Um, no matter how you look at this, and he was at Don Wells' house the night before Don goes to jail. I mean, why else would you be there other than to tell Don keep his mouth shut? Don't be talking. They're going to try to get you to, but you better not. So actually, it seems like they're just as afraid as the Wells when it comes to Summers' case. And if they didn't have no dog in the race, then they wouldn't be so invested and so worried about it, showing so much fear, right? Just saying. But anyway, as we go out of here tonight, I'm going to ask, as I always do, Please, please, please keep the prayers going up for Summer Moon Utah Wells. Keep the prayers going up for this baby because, as I said, God's in control of all things, not us. God. Just like, as I said, He controlled tonight. That wasn't me. That was God. We got information we didn't have before because we didn't, it doesn't matter what we plan. Like I showed you the content as I was pulling it up tonight. And I had a lot more than that. That's just a couple of things I had backstage. I had a lot more than that to show you. But God's plan wasn't for you to see that. His plan was for you to see Andy Bernard and Andy's comments tonight. His plan was to put a little more truth out here for Summer's case, what you've been praying for, to find the truth. And God's given it to you. So remember tonight to thank God for letting the truth start to come out here and manifest in Summer's case. Don't only thank Him for all the stuff we've already learned, but let Him know. Say, Lord, Summer still hasn't been found, and we sure would appreciate it if you would let that happen too. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen. Pray that this baby's found. Pray that she's brought home and justice gets served against the evil people who could do such evil to a little child. No child should ever have to endure what this baby has endured. No child should ever have to go through what Summer has went through. God be with these children in this world, because this world is very evil. No one should ever prey on a child. That's probably about the wickedest thing you could ever do, is prey on a child. I don't think anything's more evil than that. That's horrible. You got to be a special kind of sick and a special kind of evil to prey on a child or an older person. Neither one can defend themselves. And that makes you a coward. That makes you the worst of the worst. If that's the type of person you are. There ain't nothing uglier than that. And there's probably a very special place in hell for people who do this. No doubt. But keep those prayers going up, because I know God's answering. I know He is. And we got to keep praying. We got to keep praying, because Summer's still missing. And we need her found. And pray for Michael Vaughn. Pray for Sebastian Rogers. Pray for little Lily and Jack, who still haven't been found as well. Pray for these children. And pray that there's no more ends up like them. I can't wait. I cannot wait for the day. I cannot wait for the day that we don't have to ever worry about anything like this again. I can't wait for that day when everybody is in a place where there is no evil and none will ever exist again. I can't wait for that day. That's going to be a beautiful day, y'all. A real beautiful day. All right, you guys. As we go out of here, please, please, please keep the beautiful hearts going up. Keep those beautiful hearts going up for all of these missing children. Show these kids how much we love them and how much we support them, because we do. We do. And I don't know where all these missing kids are, but I'm going to tell you, the ones that are definitely up there in the arms of angels, and I truly believe Summer is, I actually believe they all are. I actually believe they are. And I believe the ones that are can see all the love going up down here for them as we go out of these chats each night. Not just this chat, but every chat at the end of the night. When those hearts go up, I believe these children get to see how much love is on this earth for them and how many good people there really was who cared. So send it up tonight as we go out. And God bless. Pray for one another. Know that PG is always praying for you. And please pray for one another. A family that prays together stays together. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love.